Michael, you are being represented as saying, and I would imagine that you're paying attention to this and you're seeing it more than we are, you're being quoted everywhere saying fracking causes earthquakes. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Is that do they cause earthquakes?
They do. Our study shows, I think, a pretty definitive case where we can see that the earthquakes that took place in this part of eastern Ohio were very restricted in time, only during certain stages of the fracking operations. And so those stages are only a short amount of time, several hours. And it's only the stages that were very close to what appears to be a pre-existing fault in the deep old rock in that area. And so there were hundreds of other stages of fracking that didn't produce earthquakes in that operation. And we think that's important because that means that the situation where we get earthquakes from fracking is really when you get very close, within about a half mile of when those faults, where those faults are. And so we think that helps us understand why this is a very rare phenomenon. The reason you haven't really seen this a whole lot in other places is because it needs to get very close.
Okay, so that seems to be pretty important information that seems to be being left out, because they're leaving us with the impression that if I just took the soundbite from you at the very beginning where I said, does it cause earthquakes? You said yes. End of the story. But that's not the story.
That's right. Yes.
That's like,
if we could change the soundbite to it rarely produces earthquakes, I think I would be a little bit more comfortable with it, right? That I'd like to see rare used more often. That this is, we've got tens of thousands of fracking operations that have not produced recordable earthquakes, particularly not felt earthquakes. The part of why this study was done is that there was an earthquake magnitude 3 size that was felt in the area. It didn't produce damage, but it's one of the larger cases that we have, and so we wanted to spend some close attention on this, try and understand what happened in this case, and it appears to be just, that the fracking got very close to a fault that pre-existed there.
Okay, so Mark, now do you know how many fracking holes we have here in Texas?
Lots of them.
Lots of them. They're in the tens of thousands, I believe.
Right.
And how many, do either of you guys know how many holes are in this general area where all these earthquakes are happening?
In Texas or?
No, right here in the Irving area. Do you know? Either of you?
That's all mapped out. You can go to the Texas Railroad Commission and with their GIS sites see where all the wells are located.
Right.
And so.
Have you looked?
Yeah, so Glenn, there haven't been fracking operations right here in recent time, right? That, there wasn't like there was a fracking operation out near your studio there that led to earthquakes in this area. Again, I think we wanted, people are looking at this, they're putting out better, observatories to try and better understand where exactly these earthquakes are coming from in your area. But it's not like there's prevalent fracking operations in your area that we could point to and say those are suspicious.
Right.
So
it's my understanding there's not a well within 7 miles of anywhere where these things are happening, and that would not have triggered, if that was true, it wouldn't have triggered these. So this is not caused by fracking.
That's right. So I think, the distances we're seeing that, you're talking about a half mile between active fracking operations and where those earthquakes are happening.